The class is in memory of Jared Orchen. Today we learn about the King Chizkiahu and his connection to Pesach, but mainly the King Chizkiahu. He was a king in the time, in Israel there were two kingdoms, the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel. It means like this, in time of Solomon was one big kingdom. Later, right after Solomon died, by time of his son, it was divided into two kingdoms. The kingdom of the 10 tribes, who were controlled by Ephraim, by the tribe of Ephraim, they were the kings. And they had the majority of the land, right? And then the kingdom of Judah was two tribes of Judah and Benjamin, controlled by the tribe of Judah, by the son of Solomon, Rehoboam. And it was going on like this for 300 years. And the kingdom of Israel were mainly idol worshippers, and they were very successful. Business was booming. Life was great, unbelievable. And then came a point, after a few hundred years, the Assyrian king, Melech Ashur, that was the name of the kingdom, Sancherib was his name, he became the superpower of the world. Every few years was another superpower, the Babylonian and the this. He was before Babylon, before Babel. And he started to conquer the world piece by piece. And he had a philosophy, not just a philosophy, a way of doing things. He conquered a place, he moved the people from the place to another place. If he conquered New York, he moved the people to Cleveland, he moved the people of Cleveland to New York. Nobody should ever be able to claim, this is a place for my foreparents, 10 generations I'm living here, that's my land. Nobody's land. I'm the boss. He's the boss and finished. And he came and he did it to the land of Israel. And he conquered 2.5 tribes and he exiled them. Then he took another 2 tribes and he exiled them again. Then he took another 2 tribes. He cleaned up the whole 10 tribes over a period of what? 10 years?
10 years.
10 years, something like this. And what happened to the 10 tribes? You met them lately?
Everybody claims to be one.
Every non-Jew claims to be one.
The British, the Scottish, the Irish.
In India, everywhere. The 10 tribes assimilated. Why they assimilated? Because in Israel they were already idol worshippers. That for them, they didn't have to, was no change of lifestyle, just change of place.
So Judah tribes.
No, the 10 tribes. Then he came, then Sancherib came to the next step. Was the only left is the kingdom of Judah. A little kingdom, weak. They didn't have much, a strong army, not a strong economy. Garnished. The king was at that time Chizkiahu, who was a righteous king, a good man. And Sancherib is coming to conquer him. Then first we'll learn the story about his Sancherib and his conquering. Then we'll learn more about Chizkiahu. Maybe we'll first learn about Chizkiahu, then we'll learn about this. We'll start with this and finish. Okay, start to read. Top of the page that you have in front of you.
The Gemara?
Yeah. There is 2 stories, 2 places in the Talmud that we're going to learn about Chizkiahu. One is in the tractate Sanhedrin, and one in the tractate Brachot, is the beginning. Okay, now we'll start from Sanhedrin.
The Gemara now explores why Chizkiahu, a paragon of righteousness, was made to face an Assyrian invasion in the first place. Scripture states...
A paragon? What's a paragon?
The highest example.
Really? No model. Very nice. Go ahead.
Scripture states, after these matters and this truth, Sancherib, king of Assyria, came, invaded Judah, and set up camps against the fortified cities. He planned to breach them so that he might take them. The Gemara asks rhetorically, now this is the reward for this nobleman? Did Chizkiah, who labored so diligently on behalf of God, deserve an Assyrian invasion as the reward for his efforts?
Then the Talmud is asking a very serious question. Chizkiyahu, this righteous king, he should face Sancherib. Most of the kings in Israel, even in Judah, many of them were not so righteous, and many of them were wicked. Chizkiyahu's father was a wicked man. Chizkiahu, who was the king before him, Chizkiyahu's son, Menashe, was a wicked man. Then, in his time, could find a better time. And the prophet in that time was Isaiah. Isaiah was one of the most powerful prophets. And Isaiah felt that like now is the time with this righteous king, we can do it. We can turn things around. There was such one of the most optimistic prophecies that you read in the Bible are on this time. Because the prophet felt that he has a righteous king, and basically the government is on his side, and we can do it. The prophecy and the government, he can do both sides of the government is on their side, the spiritual and the controlling side. And he was giving prophets the beautiful prophecy. God says, "I love you, my son Ephraim. Come back to Judaism." All this beautiful prophecies that we read is in this time. He felt that he can clean up the land from idol worshipping, bring the remnants of the 10 tribes. They were exiled, but not everybody was exiled. Some people were left. He called them, "Come, join Judah. Let's rebuild it. Let's do it." And in the middle comes Sancherib. That's what the Gemara is asking. Go ahead.
The Gemara asks rhetorically, now this is the reward. We already read that.
The
The
Gemara
Gemara replies
replies
by giving an agadic interpretation of the verse just cited. When the verse states, after these matters and this truth, after what events and do what truth does this refer? Ravina said it means as follows. After the Holy One, blessed be He, resolutely swore to bring Sancherib to Jerusalem and cause his downfall there, that was when Sancherib began his campaign against Judah.
It means God decided that this big Sancherib, this superpower who conquered the whole world, his downfall should be in Jerusalem. He should know it's coming from God. If the downfall would be somewhere else, he say, "Oh, it just didn't work out." But this little Jerusalem he cannot conquer, that he will know it's from God. Then God decided to get rid of Sancherib, to bring the downfall of Sancherib in Jerusalem. So what he had to swear? Go ahead.
That is, God, so to speak, said to himself, if I tell Chizkiahu, I am going to bring Sancherib to Jerusalem, and there I will deliver him into your hand, I know that Chizkiahu will reply to me, I want neither him nor his terror.
Yeah? What did the Jews say? God tells them, we'll bring Sancherib here and we will show it to him. He said, God, please do me a favor. I don't need the miracles and don't give me the tzores. I'm happy. Things are good. I don't need the fear. Even the fear is not good. Therefore, God had to swear that he will not tell Sancherib that he's bringing it to him. That's what the Torah and Talmud is saying. Go ahead.
I do not want to invade Judah, even if I ultimately vanquish him. Immediately the Holy One, blessed be He, decided he would not consult Chizkiahu, and he swore with alacrity, I will bring Sancherib to Jerusalem. For it is written, Hashem, the Lord of hosts, swore, saying, As I have thought, so shall it come to pass, and as I have planned, so shall it stand, namely, to break Assyria in my land, and upon my mountains will I trample him. This yoke shall be removed from upon them, and his burden shall be removed from upon his shoulder. Thus the passage after these matters and the truth Sancherib come does not mean that the invasion of Sancherib was Chizkiahu's reward for his good deeds. Rather, it means that the invasion occurred because God had taken an oath, truth, to destroy the Assyrian army in Judah, and thereby end the Assyrian domination of the Jews.
Basically, to have a miracle, you need a righteous man. Not everybody deserves that God should make a miracle through his end. Because Sancherib was so righteous, therefore God chose to make this huge miracle in front of him, through him, so to speak. Then, in essence, it is a reward. I mean, it's not a reward that Chizkiahu is looking for. Yeah, I wouldn't look for it. Nobody would looking for such tzores. But Hashem has to make a miracle, and it's written in a few places in the Talmud, Hashem makes a miracle to a righteous man, even a righteous king, a gentle king, but a righteous king. Nebuchadnezzar, there is a whole story about Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel came out from the furnace, right? Who came out from? Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah came out from the furnace, and then there is a story about. Basically, they answered them. They said, if the king is a righteous king, God will make a miracle to him. But here it's also Chizkiahu, because he was a righteous man, therefore God chose to make this miracle to him. That's why God decided to bring Sancherib And Sancherib decided to come to Jerusalem. You know when he arrived to Jerusalem?
Passover.
He arrived to Jerusalem Erev Pesach. Friday morning, this year, Friday morning. Arrived to Jerusalem with an army of 182,000 soldiers. If 182,000 people come, just walk over Jerusalem, they destroy the city. They don't have to do anything. They just walk there, walk in the old city. Can you imagine? But before this, we'll read what is so special about Chizkiahu. Mark, you want to read?
The Gemara introduces a homiletic interpretation of Isaiah 14:25, the last verse cited in the above discussion. Rabbi Yochanan said, "This verse implies that the Holy One, blessed be He, said, let Sanherib and his followers come and attack, and they will become a trough for Chizkiahu and his followers." The Gemara presents further homiletic interpretations of verses from Isaiah. It is stated in the book of Isaiah, "It shall come to pass on that day that his burden shall be removed from your shoulder, and his yoke from upon your neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of girth." I don't know what shemen is.
Just shemen means oil.
Oil, okay. Rabbi Yitzhak Nafcha said that the verse implies the yoke of Sheheverin was broken by the oil shemen of Chizkiahu, which burned in the synagogues and study halls of his kingdom to make possible the study of Torah, i.e. the merit of Chizkiahu's promotion of Torah study caused the defeat of...
Okay, I'll tell you what's happening. Sancherib, he was a king, he was the boss. He made a rule. Every child must go to school. Must go to Cheder. Everybody to learn Torah. That was the first time probably in the history of the Jews that every Jewish child in the land of Israel got a Jewish education. Because it was obligatory, mandatory. You couldn't just say, oh, if parents... Most of the kids throughout history didn't go to school. The parents were farmers, the kids grew up in the farm and finished, they knew nothing. Chizkiyahu made it his business to teach all the kids Torah. Then the Talmud says, why God made Sancherib? Why was he so stronger than Sancherib? Why such miracles happened to him? Because he was busy with Jewish education. What Sancherib made an announcement, the Gemara inquires what he did. Want to continue?
The Gemara inquires, what indeed did Chizkiahu do to promote Torah study? He thrust a sword over the entrance of the study hall and said, "Whoever does not engage in the study of Torah shall be pierced by this sword."
You hear? What that means to say by law, it doesn't mean to be by sword. He didn't kill anybody. But that's by law. Like in America, every child until 8th grade must go to school. It's a law. If not, the police comes and takes your children. If you don't give them, if there is no homeschooling, not something official, every child by law must go to school. You cannot just say, give me my kids home and finished. In other countries, it's even more enforced. And the same thing, the first one, this came to America in the last 100 years. To the civilized world in the last 100 years, that there is and that's mandatory. But Chizkiyahu lived 2,600 years ago, or 2,500 years ago, a long time ago. And he, in that time, made a rule that everybody in his kingdom must learn Torah. Then the Talmud says, because of this, he deserved such great miracles, because he ensured the next generation.
During First Temple?
Yeah, by the end of the first temple. Continue. The Gemara recounts.
Let's see.
Bottom paragraph.
In the end.
No, the Gemara.
Okay. The Gemara recounts in the end, Chizkiahu's efforts were so successful that they searched from Dan to Beersheba,
Dan to Beersheba, whole side, all of Israel.
from one end of Eretz Yisrael to the other. It did not find a single uneducated person, i.e. a Jew not versed in the Torah.
You hear? It's a little, it's a little miracle in itself, All the Jews are educated.
And they searched from Gavas to Antipras and did not find a boy or girl, man or woman.
You will not find it in the next page. I'll tell you what it's written here. You are not versed in the laws of purity and impurity. Purity and impurity are the most complicated laws in Jewish laws. They basically, it was a utopia. That's why they thought Moshiach is coming. What Moshiach is coming? Every Jew learns Torah. Wow! That was the greatest merit of Chizkiahu. It wasn't like this before him, it wasn't like this after him. Not at all, not so exciting at all.
But when did universal education start in kind of the modern world for Jews?
For Jews?
Yeah.
Or for world? What do you mean for Jews?
For Jews. I mean, when did it, in Talmudic era, post-Talmudic era?
Not in Talmudic era. People learn Torah. No, not even, it's 150 years old, 200 years old. Even in Poland, there was no yeshivas. There were 3 yeshivas. I think everybody learned Torah. This idea that every child goes to yeshiva is a new thing. It's like 150 years ago, every kid went to college. The same thing. It's the whole world is dependent on each other. No, it was not. It was the very great scholar. This rabbi who passed away was 101 years old and just passed away. He was on the yeshiva. It's called Yeshiva Chachmei Lublin. In Lublin, in Poland, was a yeshiva that he looked for. He created the rabbi there, Meir Shapiro of Lublin, created a yeshiva for 400 students before the war. Built a huge building. The building's still there. And he took boys, the most capable, the geniuses from every city. He got the greatness. That's why all of the students who came out were great rabbis. Now everyone goes to yeshiva. And today yeshiva is not just for education, it's to keep you a Jew. It's not a matter how much of a scholar you are. It's if he wants you to be a religious Jew, he sends you to yeshiva. I mean, but this level of education was a big achievement. Forever it wasn't like this. Okay, now we'll go to the next page. Having concluded
an exposition of Isaiah, the Gemara now expounds the last verse that appears in that passage. What is the implication of the verse which states, "This very day, Sancheriv attends to stand in
Nov.
Nov"?
Okay. Why? This is the reason why I learned it today. Because the Haftorah of the last day of Pesach starts with the word Od Hayom Benov, still staying in Nov. Where is Nov? Nov is a city not far from Jerusalem, very close to Jerusalem. Actually, Nov was a place that used to be before King David. King Solomon built Jerusalem, the city temple in Jerusalem. The last place where the temple was in Nov. And why was Nov destroyed? Who destroyed Nov? No. Nov was destroyed by King Saul.
Okay.
How he killed that? It was a story. David ran away to Nov. We talked about it.
Yeah,
And the high priest
Yeah.
helped them, and King Saul was angry with them, and he ordered to kill the whole city, basically 85 people. It was terrible, and that basically the end of Nov. The same Nov. This is a story who is after King Solomon 350 years. And after Saul, maybe more, 400 years. 400 years later, when you destroy the temple in Nov, when Jews destroyed it, you know what they get? They get Sancheriv in Nov. That's the lesson. Sancheriv is coming to Nov, and from Nov, this is its base to destroy Jerusalem. Od Hayom Benov. Okay, continue. Ravuna
said, it implies that day remained for the possibility of punishment for the sin of Nov.
For the sin of Nov, he talks about the sin from 400 years before that. And the Talmud says that day was the last day that God would still allow the Jews to be punished for the sin of Nov. That was the last day, for whatever reason it is. This is it. Okay, that day
thus represented a unique opportunity for Sancheriv to attack and defeat Jerusalem.
If Sancheriv would utilize this day to destroy Jerusalem, he would be successful. Because it was still the pain, the sin of killing these 85 people was still, the blood was still boiling, so to speak. 400 years later. Well, that was the last day, huh?
Isn't that taking the sins of the fathers out on the great-great-great-grandsons?
So,
And why was it time limited if it lasted 400 years?
and I don't know why that day was the end. And obviously, Hashem made it in such a way that it didn't happen. But when the Torah, when the prophet says, "Till that day Nov," obviously, when they mention the place where it was. There is a message here. The message is here. If you want to know the beginning of the destruction of Jerusalem, is when we do it ourselves. When we start to fight, what was it? It was a fight between Jews. The king killed the high priest. What do you need better than that? Couldn't be any better than that. Then this is the beginning of the Tzoros. There is a Talmudic statement, I forgot exactly how, that the day that was, I forgot what was, the day that was a sin was committed in Jerusalem, that was the day that Rome started to be built. I forgot what it was. There is a line for it. You understand? That what does this mean to say? When is Rome is being built? When the Jews don't know what they're supposed to do. In any case, let's continue. The Gemara explains.
The Gemara explains that this in greater detail, reconstructing the events leading up to Sennacherib's siege. When Sennacherib was still camped far away from Jerusalem, his astrologers said to him, "If you go and attack Jerusalem today, you will overcome it. But if you do not attack before the day is over, you will not overcome it."
You know, when he came to Jerusalem, they built him a big tower, and he went up to look on Jerusalem, as we're going to learn soon. And he came, and the head of his army gave a speech over the wall to the Jews to surrender. And he gave him a speech in Hebrew. Why he gave a speech in Hebrew? Rav Shoki was his name. Rav Shoki was a Jew who joined the enemy. The head of the army of Sennacherib who comes to destroy Jerusalem is a Jewish boy. And he speaks in Hebrew to the Jews in Jerusalem. It doesn't mean they should surrender. That's life. That was like today. I mean, everything is the same story. I mean, nothing changed. Then the astrologist told Sennacherib, today, it was Erev Pesach, today you do it, you win it. Okay, upon hearing this,
Sennacherib determined to reach Jerusalem that very day. The Gemara relates, so rapid was his march that a route which ordinarily takes 10 days to traverse, he traversed in a single day. When the Assyrian army arrived at the gates of Jerusalem, Sennacherib piled layers of rugs on top of one another until he created a huge mound which he ascended and was able to sit higher than the wall of the city, until he was able to see all of Jerusalem. As he gazed upon the city, it appeared small to him. He exclaimed, "Is this truly the city of Jerusalem, on whose account I mobilized all my forces, and for which I conquered all these countries? Why, it is smaller and weaker than all the other foreign cities I have conquered with my might." He then arose from where he was sitting and contemptuously shook his head, and he waved his hand at the Temple Mount in Zion and at the courtyard of the temple in Jerusalem.
he made like this, he said, this? I slept 185,000 soldiers for this verstunk in a little place. He was embarrassed he didn't even came bother to come here. He could send a few thousand soldiers there to finish it. He said, this is Jerusalem everybody's talking about. The Gemara continues.
The Gemara continues. Thereupon his soldiers said to him, "Come, let us attack the city right now." Sennacherib replied to them, "You are too fatigued from the day's travels to attack immediately. First, rest this evening, and tomorrow let each of you bring me a piece of this city's walls, and we shall destroy it."
Whoa, he told them, we'll push us over tomorrow. Behold, that was the night of Pesach. Now, Chizkiahu is sitting in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem alone, Jews, cannot agree on anything. Told them to surrender. He didn't know what to do. The majority of the Sanhedrin told them to surrender. Isaiah came to visit them, as we're going to learn later. And he asked Isaiah, what should I do? The majority of the rabbis said to surrender. You, by law, you have to go by the majority. He said the majority of bad people is not a majority. Within Jewish law, we go by majority. The majority of the world worshipping idols, we're going to worship idols. Well, there's no such thing as majority. Majority is nothing. Within code of Jewish law, we listen to majority and minority. But something that he says, this is against God. God doesn't want you to surrender. Can you imagine the pressure that Chizkiahu has? Thousands and thousands of soldiers outside the city. The head of the army speaks to the Jews. He says, go pressure your leader, your king, to surrender. Most of the people, the majority of the Sanhedrin, of the leaders, are against him. And Isaiah tells them, don't surrender. As you're going to learn later, he was sick, Chizkiahu at that time. He turned on his bed. He says, God, I'm laying on my bed and you make miracles. And the Jewish people that night went to celebrate Pesach. They went to say the prayers. What is saying the Haggadah? The Hallel, the miracles that Hashem made in Egypt. And Rav Shokei, the Jewish boy, told Sancheriv, if you don't, tonight is not a good night for you, it's a good night for the Jews. This is a night of great miracles for the Jewish people. He warned them. Sancheriv didn't like it. But he told them, you with your Jewish stupid things that you have in your mind. What happened? The Assyrian troops.
The Assyrian troops then went to sleep as their commander had instructed. The Gemara now concludes the story with the citation from the relevant portion of Scripture. Thereupon it came to pass on that night that the angel of God went forth and smote the Assyrian camp 185,000 men. And when the survivors arose in the morning, they looked, behold, their fellow soldiers were all dead corpses.
They just died. It's a story similar to the firstborn plague. The angel of God came and killed all the firstborn sons. And the same night was a huge miracle. And the few survived, run away. And they just got up in the morning, they looked on the other side of the wall. Garnished. They're all gone.
Sennacherib's campaign against Jerusalem thus ended in utter defeat, for he delayed his attack until after the culpability for the sin of Nov had expired.
And he ran away later with his two sons, and he wanted to, that's the story, I think he wanted to sacrifice one of his sons to an idol, and the son heard about it. Basically, the two sons killed him. That was the end of Sancherib. Sancherib's downfall in his history was when he tried to destroy Jerusalem. That was the end of him. And that all happened on the first night of Pesach. A huge miracle, many years after the Jews left Egypt. How many years after the Jews left Egypt? 1,000 years? A little less.
Less.
800 years.
More like 600.
No,
No.
800 years.
Okay.
This is
800 years, yeah,
ago.
around.
So that's
800
3,300 years
yes,
Mount Sinai,
800,
right?
800 years, yes. The last line is, there is no continuation here, the last line is, if something goes by, it goes by. It was he had a chance to give the Jews Torahs, he missed the day, it's over. The punishment was over, the Jews were saved.
So there was a temple in Shiloh, and after Shiloh there was a temple here?
Yes.
Okay.
Nov, and then after Nov, was Shiloh, was a temple for 369 years.
Yeah.
Then was in Nov,
How
in
long?
Givon, a short time, 50 years or something like this. And then it was, and later, much later, they built a temple in Jerusalem. Nov was destroyed in a time before David became king. And then was King David all his life, and only Solomon built the temple in Jerusalem. Now we learn the Talmud in the chapter in the Talmud tractate Brachot, with the Talmud tells the story that according to the Midrashim, it happened the same day. Everything happened at the same time. In the middle of the page, the Gemara will now.
The Gemara will now recount an incident concerning Chizkiahu, king of Judah. The Gemara cites this incident because it culminates in mention of the obligation to join the redemption blessing to the prayer. Rav Hamnuna said, regarding that which is written, who is like the wise one and who knows a thing's interpretation? Its meaning is as follows. Who is like the Holy One, blessed is he, who knows how to make a compromise between two righteous people.
You know, sometimes only Hashem can make compromises in two righteous. Even though both righteous, and everybody means for the sake of God, can make a lot of tzoros. A lot of tzoros. And you need God himself to interfere. And this is a perfect example. Go ahead.
Meaning between
Chizkiahu, yeah.
Chizkiahu and the prophet Isaiah, who could not agree on the question of whose honor was greater. For Chizkiahu said, let Isaiah come to me.
It was a fight. They were to discuss about the war. Sancheiriv is coming. Isaiah says, I'm the prophet. Let the king come to me. The king says, let the prophet come to me. And everyone had a proof from another event that he came to him and he came to him. Why Chizkiahu thought that a prophet should come to the king? Because it was an experience before that. What happened?
For thus do we find in the case of the prophet Elijah that he went to see Ahav, king of Israel.
King Ahav was a bad guy. And once God told Elijah the prophet, go to the king and meet him there and speak to him. From this we learn that Elijah the prophet should go to the king, right? That Chizkiahu says, and not Chizkiahu didn't mean his own honor. He says, I'm the king of Israel. If I go to the prophet, I belittle my kingdom. A king cannot forgive on his honor. You understand? A rabbi can forgive his honor. A king cannot forgive his honor because it's not his. It's God's honor. It's the Jewish people. Who are you to forgive? It's not yours. It's the presidency. It's the office of the presidency. It's not who is sitting there. Then he says, I'm not allowed to go to the prophet because here God sent the prophet to the king. Go ahead.
And did not summon Ahav to appear before him. Evidently, the honor due a king is greater than that due a prophet. Mm-hmm. Isaiah should accordingly come to me. Mm-hmm. But Isaiah said, let Chizkiahu come to me. For thus do we find in the case of Jehoram, son of Ahav, king of Israel, that he went to see the prophet Elisha.
The son of Ahav, went. Elijah and Ahav were king. He was the prophet, he was the king. The next generation was Jehoram and Elisha. Elisha was the next prophet who took over from Elijah. Mm-hmm. In this case, Jehoram came to Elisha. That Isaiah says, the king should come to me. And both of them mean for the sake of God. For that could be a big stink. No. Okay, you want to continue?
What did the Holy One, blessed is he, do? He brought afflictions upon Chizkiahu. And then he said to Isaiah, go and visit the sick one.
Yeah.
Thus did God bring these
and
two
now
together.
I must tell you a story. The third president of Israel, his name was Zalman Shazar. Shneur Zalman Shazar, that was his name. He was the president of Israel, but he came from a Hasidic family. His origin, Shneur Zalman, you can already understand, his origin came from a Chabad family. And all the years, even he was not religious, and he kept a relationship with the Rebbe. And then finally, I think in 1967 or something like this, he became the president of Israel. Or even before that. And every time before that, he used to come to America, he used to go every time to visit the Rebbe, and used to talk with the Rebbe for hours, because to him the Rebbe did so many good things in Israel, it was unbelievable. And now he's the president, and he was a chassid of the Rebbe. He was not religious, but he was a chassid. He wanted to go to the Rebbe. And they said, what do you mean? The Rebbe should come to you. And the Rebbe didn't go to visit anybody. Never. He was for 4 years in his office, he didn't go anywhere. He never went on vacation, didn't go anywhere. Just didn't go anywhere. Every day he showed up in his office, every day for 4 years. Wow. He never went anywhere. And it was clear to Shazar that if he wants to come, he's more than welcome, but the Rebbe is not going anywhere. And he had huge pressure from the Israeli government. He should not go to the Rebbe. Unbelievable pressure. And it was a fight until the last minute. Then when he was in Israel, he asked some great rabbi that he respected, he was also a Chabad rabbi. He asked him, what do you think, what should I do? He told them this argument was already in the past. Chizkiahu and Yeshayahu had the same argument. Who should come to him, the prophet to the king or the king to the prophet? And he says, you don't want that should happen, what happened there? You rather be healthy and go to the Rebbe than you be sick and the Rebbe come to visit you. And that was the smartest piece of advice that he ever gave him. He scared him, I think, more than everything he told him. And actually, he came to America and he made the president made himself sick. And everybody walked off. And then he said the only way he not going to the Rebbe makes him sick, and they just let him go. And he went. It was a big stink all over the newspaper. Why the Rebbe doesn't come to the president? He came, and he needed it for his own personal strength. And the Rebbe told them, I could come to you, but this building that my father-in-law used davening and learning, this I couldn't bring with you to the hotel. Mm-hmm. Basically, what's here is much more than that. For the same exact story, it just shows you how history repeats itself. So this wise man told them, it was already before, instead of God making you sick, you better come to the Rebbe. Then what he told them, go ahead.
In those days, Chizkiahu took sick unto death, and Isaiah son of Amos the prophet came to him and said to him, So spoke God, instruct your household, for you are dying, and you will not live. We see that Isaiah came...
What do you think about such a message? He shows up and says, hey, Rabbi Chizkiahu, you're going to die. It's over. Go ahead.
We see that Isaiah came before Chizkiahu as a result of the afflictions that were brought upon Chizkiahu.
Then basically by Chizkiahu not going to the king, he made a big mistake. By going to the prophet, he made a big mistake. But that's not the only reason why. There is a story before that. The story with Jephthah's daughter? And then Yiftach who made a promise that whoever he will meet in front of his house will be. The whole thing happened. He made a promise, but you can nullify your promise. But you nullify your promise, you have to go to the rabbi. The rabbi is told, let Yiftach come to us. Yiftach said, let them come to me. Meanwhile, the girl was suffering in between. That's all these kind of things. That's what happens. Okay, continue. The Gemara.
The Gemara explains, you are dying, refers to death in this world.
Really? No, before
the
that.
Gemara pauses to analyze this prophecy. What is the reason the verse first states, for you are dying, and then continues with the words, and you will not live? If one is dying, it is obvious that he will not live.
Yeah, why is the prophet says it twice? He'll die and not live. It's pretty understood. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to understand this. The Gemara explains.
The Gemara explains, you are dying refers to a death in this world, and you will not live refers to a death in the world to come.
Wow! Even after life, he will be dead. He will not have a life after life. Why? Then, Mark, you want to continue? Continue the same page in the bottom. Upon hearing this
prophecy, Chizkiahu inquired about the reason for the punishment. Chizkiahu said to Isaiah, what is the reason for all this, i.e., why am I deserving such a severe penalty?
My kulahai! Why? What's happening? Why? Why I deserve such a punishment? Chizkiahu answered Isaiah answered them.
It is because you did not engage in procreation.
You did not have children. Wow. So, Omar Chizkiahu said to him,
but this was because I saw with divine inspiration that unvirtuous children will issue forth from me.
He said he knew that he will have bad children. Bad children for the king means the next king is an evil king. Then what's the point to have children? Listen to it, the answer. Go ahead.
It is better to refrain from the mitzvah. It is better to refrain from the mitzvah of procreation than to beget such offspring. Isaiah said to him, "Why do you concern yourself with these hidden things of the merciful one?"
This is a line that became a cornerstone in Judaism. Don't calculate God's calculations. We have to do what He's supposed to do, And the rest is in the hand of God. But you say that the kid, don't go there. Whatever will be the kid is the hand of God. You have an obligation to have children, you have to have children. Don't, God covers it up, God made this decision. If you don't be concerned about eating things that God, that's why it's hidden. Why we don't know what will be the future? Because God wants us to do what He's supposed to do. The rest is in the hand of God. We have to do what He's supposed to do. Isaiah, when Chizkiahu heard this news, go ahead. He told them.
What you are commanded to do, you must do, and what is found to be good before the Holy One, blessed be He will do. This is not your choice to make. Thereupon said to Isaiah, now that I am apprised of my wrong, give me your daughter as a wife, and I will beget children by her.
Why he said that? Not because he was looking for a shidduch. He was the king.
Perhaps my merits with your merits combined will suffice to cause virtuous children to issue forth from me.
He said, maybe if you are so concerned about me, because he says, give me your daughter. And because she's the daughter of the prophet, and I'm a righteous man, maybe all the genes, the good genes and the good merit from all sides, will be able to create a child who will be righteous. You want to continue? Isaiah said to him,
But Isaiah said to him, but the decree of death has already been passed upon you.
Isaiah told them, Reb Chizkiahu, it's too late. It's over. God told you, you're dying. That's it. Look what is happening here.
At this point, marrying my daughter will accomplish nothing. Chizkiahu then said to Isaiah, son of Amoz, and your prophecy, and go.
And your prophecy, and go, and leave the room.
And
He told them, finish what you have to say and leave. If you cannot help me, leave.
Yeah, for I have received this following teaching from the house of my father. Even if a sharp sword rests upon a person's neck, he should not refrain from praying for mercy. All hope is therefore not lost.
He said something. He said, I have a tradition, a message that was received from our father's father, and goes all the way to the time of King David. That even in a time when King David once he prayed to God when he saw the angel of death comes with his sword to kill, and he prayed to God and he turns things around. And from this he learned, then it's never too late. No such thing as giving up. And that became another cornerstone of Jewish belief. And that's why Jewish people are not quick in disconnecting machines. And we never give up. Never, ever, ever. I just heard a kind of a joke that a guy said that he heard that God was calling to the three heads of the three religions, and he told them in 2 weeks he's bringing a flood to the world. The head of the Muslim religion came and he told the people to pray out. God should forgive them. And the Christian said this. Came Moses and told the Jewish people, we have 2 weeks to learn how to swim. Now, this is it. We never give up. There is stories about Jews who were hanged during time the Cossacks. And they heard noise, and the Cossacks ran away. They thought the other army is coming, and somebody came in the last minute and undid it. And he lost his voice, but he saved his life. Many stories like this. And this is the cornerstone of this whole belief. You never, ever, ever give up, no matter what is happening. And he says, you tell me it's over? Get out of here. The prophet told him it's over. Okay. You want to continue?
The Gemara cites a further source for this teaching. Similarly, it has been stated, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar, they both said as follows, even if a sharp sword rests upon a person's neck, he should not refrain from praying for mercy, for it is stated regarding the tribulations of Job, although he kills me, I will pray to him. Evidently, one may hope for mercy even at death's door.
You never ever give up. That's the Jewish belief. Okay.
The Gemara cites a similar teaching. Rabbi Hanan said, even if the master of dreams says to a person, tomorrow you will die, he should not refrain from praying for mercy, for it is stated, For with all the multitude of dreams and the empty prophecies and many words, only fear God. If one does so, he can escape the fate foretold by his dreams.
You see, we established this concept. No matter what, no matter who, no matter how, we never, ever, ever give up. No matter how many doctors tell you the opposite. Continue.
The Gemara returns to the incident with Chizkiahu. Upon being apprised of his sin, Chizkiahu immediately did the following. And Chizkiahu turned his face to the wall and he prayed to Hashem.
By the way, from here we learn that if you have the option, you pray the Amidah, you pray next to a wall, that nobody should bother you. But Chizkiahu turned to the wall and he prayed to God. Okay.
The Gemara asks, what is the significance of Chizkiahu's turning his face to the wall? The Gemara answers, Reb Shimon ben Lachish said, this is a reference to the fact that his prayer was from the walls of his heart. For it is stated regarding Jeremiah's heartfelt lament, my innards shudder, the walls of my heart, etc., are in turmoil within me, my heart will not be still. We see that the words walls is used in connection with the expressions of one's heart.
There is someone to say he turned his face to the wall, but it wasn't about that wall, it was the wall inside him. His whole heart came out with his prayers. An alternative?
An alternative interpretation of Chizkiahu's turning his face to the wall, Rav Levi said, it means that Chizkiahu turned his attention to the matter of the wall, i.e. the wall of the Holy Temple. For Chizkiahu said as follows before God, Master of the universe, if in the merit of the Shunammite woman who made only a single small wall for the prophet Elisha, you brought her son back to life. Then in the merit of my father's father, King Solomon, who covered the entire temple with silver and gold, you should certainly preserve the life of his offspring. My life should thus be saved.
Okay, what he says is like this. There is a story by Elisha, that Elisha used to come to a certain woman in Shunem, and she made for him like a little attic, where he can like a in-law suite. and he had a place that he used to pray there, and because of that he promised her a child. And then the child died, and she came to Elisha and she told him, look what you did to me. And he went all the way to your house and he resurrected the child from the dead. Then what Chizkiahu is telling God, one woman made one little room for a prophet and deserved the resurrection of the dead. My great-grandfather Solomon, great-great-grandfather who built the temple, should not deserve and his marriage should I not deserve to more life? That's what he prayed. But that's what he prayed. Then he said more. Right?
The Gemara quotes Chizkiahu's prayer. Remember now the manner in which I have walked before you truthfully and wholeheartedly. I have done that which is good in your eyes. The Gemara asks, what is Chizkiahu referring to with the words, I have done that which is good in your eyes? The Gemara answers, Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav, he means that he regularly joined the redemption blessing to the prayer. He prayed to God to heal him in the merit of this practice.
Basically, the Gemara, he turns to God and he says, give me life for the good deeds that I did. The Gemara is asking, what are the good deeds that he did? That one of them he established the concept that you say the Shema and the Amidah together. The Shema speaks about the redemption from Egypt, and the Amidah is about prayer. And we don't make a separation between these two. And this is something that the Talmud says is one of the good points, one of the good deeds that he did. What comes here, something even more interesting. A second answer.
A second answer, Reb Levi said, he means that he hid the book of remedies. It was the merit of this act that Chizkiahu invoked before God.
The book of remedies. Read note number 13. What's the book of remedies contain?
The book of remedies contained instructions regarding the natural healing properties of all the various herbs and grasses in existence.
Mm-hmm.
Those who were ill relied upon these natural remedies and refrained from appealing to God for healing. Chizkiahu therefore hid the book so that the ill would be compelled to throw themselves upon God's mercy.
Continues stated that God Rabbeinu Bechaya.
Bechaya states that God made these healing properties known to Moses in order to test the Jews. God wished to see whether they would recognize that all healing is from God and appeal to Him, or whether they would place their trust in the Book of Remedies. Chizkiahu hid the book when it began to lead people astray. Since the act of hiding the book demonstrates Chizkiahu's faith in God's healing, he invoked this act in his own plea for healing.
Exactly. What he says it like this. It doesn't mean we don't have to go to doctors. But it means we don't have to have faith in the doctors. We have to go to the doctors, but we have faith in Hashem. And what happened at that time, people were so busy with this, all this, it became like an idol in its own right. They thought that this will bring them the cure. Whatever it was written in the book, this will bring them the cure. And they were not remembering that together with us, they have to rely on God, faith to have in Hashem. To try your best, but ultimately to rely on God who is going to help you. And he continues the Talmud. Having this, let's continue in the text, having mentioned
that Chizkiah hid the Book of Remedies, the Gemara states, Rasa discussing the act. What does that mean?
Just move on.
Oh. Okay. And the rabbis taught in Basara.
Braisa is an outside
Braisa.
Mishnah. It's too complicated.
Okay, I'll take that. Of a particular 6 acts that King Chizkiah did. The sages acquiesced to him regarding 3, but did not acquiesce to him regarding the other 3. The sages acquiesced to him regarding the 3 acts. He hid the Book of Remedies, and the sages acquiesced to him. He ground up the copper serpent.
Okay. Then don't look for more pages. There is not. What he says is like this. You know, King Moses, at one point, one of the many complaints that the Jews complained, God sent scorpions on them, snakes, to attack them. And the Jews run to God. Moses, oh, Moshe, help me. He says, he turned to God. God said, if you go and make a metal, a snake made out of metal, and put it up on a big beam, and anybody who will look of it will get cured. What does this mean? Because everybody lift up his eyes, remembered Hashem. When they remembered Hashem, they did tshuva, then they were cured. That's why, you know, there is one of the medical signs.
Yeah.
This is coming from there. So it became like almost an idol worshipping thing, but it's coming from the Bible.
Of course.
Now what happened? This metal, this snake made out of metal, became an idol. Instead that they should lead people to believe in God and to look up, they started to believe in this so much that this became the idol. That Chizkiyahu took this thing that Moses did and crushed it. And the rabbis thanked him. Because if the same thing becomes counterproductive, then we don't need it. As long as it was it's all about the message. As long as it's connecting people to God, fine. The moment it starts to disconnect people from God, then we don't need it. Chizkiyahu, the prophet Isaiah was sent back by God and told Chizkiyahu that he has another 15 years. And actually Chizkiyahu married Isaiah's daughter.
And he had children.
And they had children.
Yeah.
That was Menashe.
And was
That's right.
Menashe. He was so bad. Ooh.
That's right.
But then there were later offspring that were very good.
Yeah. Because God has his calculations. Because God has to continue the continuation of from Chizkiyahu. It comes from David. Moshiach has to come out from this offspring. That you cannot just I'm not going to have children. It doesn't work like this. It was bad, but that was a part. Not only it was bad, it was. It's such stories. I don't even want to hear. But the point is, and according to the Medrash, this story happened the same Erev Pesach with Sancheriv is outside. The whole mess. He was sick. It all came together. And at that time, this is the Haftorah. This day in Nov, that started the Haftorah of Achon Pesach, he reads about the continuation of the Haftorah describes who Moshiach will going to be. Will be a man that the Spirit of God will rest on him. That he will, when he will judge, he will not have to judge by his knowledge, by information, but he will have he will smell and judge. It means to say by his Spirit he will judge. He will know who is right and who is wrong, and he will be able. He will say something. He will be able to kill the bad with his mouth. It will be Messianic age. And there it describes how the lion and the wolf will sit together with the sheep. Everybody will be together, and the Jewish people will come back to Israel, and will be the Euphrates. The Jews will come from Babylon. The Euphrates will split like in the time of Egypt, and the Jews will come back, and the land will be filled with the knowledge of God, like the sea is full of water. What does this mean? When you look on the sea, you don't see, and there is many things underneath the water. You don't even see. You see the water. It means to say, on earth, we see the differences. Everyone looks different. In the sea, everybody nullifies to the water. Everybody becomes a part of the water. They don't have their own identity. The knowledge of God will be so filling the world of God that nobody will care about the differences. Everybody busy with the knowledge of God. This Haftorah we're going to read on Achron Shepesach. Why? Because Achron Shepesach is the day that we're getting ready for the final redemption. If the first 2 days of Pesach is about the exodus from Egypt, the last days of Pesach about the redemption. And even more, the last day, literally the last day. And we read the Haftorah to tell us that just like by Chizkiahu, it was an impossible task to overcome 185, the superpower of the world. The kingdom of Judah was not even a joke. It was like a hut. That's how the prophet describes it, like a hut in the middle of nowhere, one little hut that's barely survives. That was the kingdom of Judah. And here is coming the superpower to destroy it, to swallow it up. And because it had a miracle. Why deserve the miracle? Because he made sure the Jewish children learn Torah. And if we do this, every miracle can take place. And that's why we read it the last day of Pesach to tell us if we want to deserve Mashiach, is by making sure that there is Jewish education. There is nothing more important than that. And the custom is, by Hasidim, then the last day of Pesach, and the last meal in the evening. This year is going to be Shabbat. Before the end of Shabbat, we make a meal, we called it Moshiach Seudah, the Moshiach meal. We drink 4 cups of wine, and we eat matzah, and we celebrate welcoming the coming of Moshiach. And this year, as every year, we'll have it in our own home, and everybody is invited to come to celebrate with us the coming of Moshiach with joy and happiness, and we finish the holiday with a bang. We don't sit on needles and waiting when we can eat bread. We are enjoying the holiday, and we go a little further. Thank you.
Thank you.